everyone. Good morning. I've been working with food and beverage for about the last 22 years. I started as a server in New York, to be exact, in Manhattan Hilton Hotel. Moved to LA, worked for Los Angeles Hilton Hotel. That's when I became kind of a wine steward. And then I moved to Salem, Oregon, worked at Da Vinci's in Salem for about 7 years. One of the highest Italian restaurant in Northwest. Then moved to Bend in '99. My first job was at River House. I worked for about a couple of years, and then I moved to Brokentop. Was at Brokentop for about 7 years, and then I moved to Pronghorn. I was there for a couple of years, and Pronghorn didn't happen, and so I came back to Brokentop. In between those times, I worked for a distributor for about 4 years, which was Odom and Southern Wine Spirits. When this facility opened, I actually helped Mr. Erickson, Julian. I worked with these guys on several occasions. Winemaking is similar to being a chef. So chef mentioned earlier, you got to serve things that go together. So wine pairing with food is very, very, very important. So usually what I do is I go with weight of the wine with the food of the wine. So if it's a red wine, I'll definitely serve it with the red meat or red food. If it's white wine, I'll definitely serve it with the white food. Pasta, fish, salmon, halibut, cream sauce, and so on and so forth. So today, based on what was on the menu, I picked 3 wines to pair with our 3 different entrees. The first one was the Lang Pinot Gris. Don Lang is a winemaker who introduced Pinot Gris to Oregon in 1982. That is the reason I picked Pinot Gris. These guys are in Dundee Hills. They make a Pinot Noir, Pinot Gris, Gewürztraminer, Riesling, and they also make some second-tier reserve Pinot Noirs. Pinot Gris, typically you pick up pears, green apples, star fruit, and it's usually crisp and clean. They do the fermentation in stainless steel tanks. It doesn't see any wood. But some of the winemakers do use mature barrels that have been used already for first 3 years or 4 years, so it doesn't have a lot of oak flavor to the wine. So to give it that little bit of weight to the Pinot Gris and the fruit, but Don Lang doesn't use any wood, so it's all 100% stainless steel fermentation. He also doesn't filter the wine because it's fruity, it's easy drinking, and it doesn't leave a lot of tannins to it. So the duck and the chanterelle mushrooms with a little bit of the chanterelle mushroom with the spinach, the little bit of lobster cream sauce with the duck. It absolutely goes fantastic with it. When I train my staff, it's very important when somebody does order a bottle of wine, you show it to the customer. We have a 2011 Lang Pinot Gris. So what happens on most of the wine lists sometimes is that wine comes in and it doesn't show what vintage it is on the wine list. So if you made a wine list about 6 months ago, they changed their Pinot Gris vintage and the customer does order 2011, but then it will say 2010. So there's a difference between years. Like, for example, when they pick grapes in October, if there's an early freeze, there's a lot of rain, so it's usually like a finger-biting year. So they try to pick the grapes up early so they don't get musty, but then they have to lay them down on the mats to dry them. Otherwise, when they crush the grapes, there will be a lot of acid in the wine, so it's very tannicky, so it doesn't taste right. Or a lot of wineries in Oregon also what they do is if the grapes don't ripe right, they sell their grapes to somebody else and not make the wine that year because they have the reputation because they charge top dollar for their Pinot Gris. Most of the Oregon now does a screw top on Pinot Gris and some of them Chardonnays also and Sauvignon Blancs because they are supposed to be consumed within 2 years of the vintage what's on the bottle to maintain that freshness. The fresher the wine, the better it is. They changed the AVAs in Oregon, so there are a lot of appellations now. American Viticulture Association, and before it was Willamette Valley, and now they're breaking it down to small areas also, like it comes from Dundee Hills, it comes from Carlton, it comes from McMinnville. Pretty soon they're going to have an AVA in Salem too, so because they want to know where exactly the wine is coming from, if it's a 10-mile radius AVA, 15 miles AVA, or 20 miles AVA. Yes?
Sorry to interrupt. What's an AVA?
American Viticulture Association.
Thank you.
So they also have grape police in France and Italy. You can't grow grapes in Milan and make wine in Tuscany. So grapes have to be produced in that AVA and wine has to be made in that AVA. Because one area is cream of the crop, they grow the best grapes, the wines are 80 years old, 100 years old, and then they charge $20 or $30 for their bottle of wine, where if something is made in Deruta, and then the soil, the terroir, the sun, and the elevation is not that high, and they don't want them to put same label or same AVA on that bottle that Tuscany does. So I'm going to pour some Pinot Gris. I don't know if we have a little bit of food left, but a little bit of bite of the food, the Pinot Gris, absolutely wonderful. They make, glassware is very important. Each wine has its own glass. So if there's a Riesling, there's a Chardonnay, there's a Pinot Gris, there's a Pinot Noir, there's a Bordeaux, there's a Syrah, Chianti, a Brunello, or Barolo. The reason is that it is supposed to put wine exactly on your tongue where it's supposed to go. Because your tongue will pick up different components of the wine. So tip of your tongue will pick up sweetness and sourness, middle tongue will pick up the peppers, and the bottom of your tongue will pick up the finish of the wine and the fruit. So there is a reason, there are a lot of wine snobs out there. So every glass is different, but there are a lot of restaurants, they use glassware like this, which is called AP glassware, all-purpose glassware. You can drink Chardonnay, Pinot Gris, Cab, Merlot off of this glass, which is nothing wrong with it. But if somebody is learning or wanting to know, like Bill was talking about, there is a competition, they want the adequate glassware for the purpose of the competition. So it's real professional. It's a fine dining or it's a 5-star restaurant. Every time you order a wine, if they have glass, this kind of glassware on the table, the server will know which wine you order and change the glassware accordingly. Very, very, very important. And also, you guys are going to go on, being a winemaker has been exactly like a chef. So if you made a wine, it doesn't taste right, it's being aged in a barrel. So just like a chef, they will add a little salt, a little pepper, make it flavorful. Same thing with the winemaker. They go every 3 to 4 months, pump a little bit of wine out of the barrel and see what it tastes like, how it's aging, and then they add stuff to it so it will taste.
What sort of stuff do they add?
They will either add, Oregon is 85, it has to be 95% of the varietal in order for it to call Pinot Gris. So they could add a little bit of Chardonnay, they could add a little bit of Viognier, they could add a little bit of Riesling to it in order for it to turn together. So same thing with the red wine. So if they don't have one single varietal, they can't make 100% Lang Merlot. They will call it a red table wine. So they'll do a little bit of Cab Franc, a little bit of Merlot, a little bit of Petit Verdot in order for it to bring it to that level where it's consumer friendly and it's easy for them to sell. Otherwise, they'll get stuck with it. And that's what they do. A lot of winemakers don't like to do that, but they have to do it. It's like, you're a chef, somebody comes to you, they order a filet mignon, they want it well done. You're like, what do I do with this person? So you butterfly it, make it well done, but your suggestion will be, have it medium rare or medium. but good is what customer likes. We do wine tastings all the time. Pairing is very, very, very important, but you're gonna have that customer that orders a porterhouse steak and wants a glass of white Zinfandel. They are right, you can't do anything about it, so just let them have it. Yes?
Do you have all these variety of glasses like Brokentop?
We do, yes, yes. There's a reason I bring a couple of different glassware. So this is a tulip shape. This is a true Pinot Noir glass. This is a true Chardonnay glass, but they make these glasswares now, depends who the company is. These are Riedel glassware. Chardonnay, these days, if it's a California Chardonnay, it's like a red wine. It's very heavy, very full body. It has lots of oak. And in order for it to swirl, let the alcohol evaporate, they make the glass a little bit wider, so it's easy for you to swirl and drink it. Port wine or dessert wine glasses, you usually pour 3 ounces, so they design them like this. Like I said, each company designs their glassware the way it should be. So we have a Riedel. I didn't have any Syrahs or Cabs or Merlot, so I didn't bring all glassware, but every glassware is important for the customer, especially if you're in a fine dining establishment. I don't know, Julian, can they taste wine or? We'll start with a Pinot Gris. I'm going to pour you guys in the glass a little bit, and I'm going to pour you guys in this for a little bit and taste it, see the difference. You can taste sometimes plastic in here, you can taste metallic, it doesn't taste as good. Even water, we did a tasting at Pronghorn, they pour water in these glasses. Water even tastes different than a regular water stemware, totally. Did a blind tasting, they call them a dummy glassware. It makes a huge difference. Just like the Pinot Noir, because we are the best producers of Pinot Noir. There's nowhere in the country except in Burgundy that makes as good of a Pinot Noir as Oregon does. They're a little overpriced, and Oregon, started it, and they're a little expensive for the price too, but one of the best Pinot Noir producers in the world is Oregon. Yeah. Yes?
What vineyard would you recommend? What vineyards would you recommend?
Wine Spectator, I don't know if you guys subscribe to Wine Spectator. The top 100 wines just came out. And Domaine Serene Evansted was the #1 wine pick throughout the country. Domaine Serene Evansted. The Pinot Noir we have is Joseph Durain's brother started a second label from, his brother makes Domaine Durain Pinot Noir, and his brother makes a Lecuma Pinot Noir. It's brand new, it's their second label. The reason I picked this, the price is right. It's about $11.89 for wholesale. And if it was like 10 years old, it probably will be $22 to $26 a bottle. Lots of flavor, it's very thin, but it has flavors throughout. It could go with anything, or you could just sip it with, pretty much even a salad or a duck or a scallop. It's not gonna overpower anything. There are a lot of high-end alcohol content Pinot Noirs that definitely will go with red meat, but this one I'll definitely, sip it or have it with something light odorous.
As far as pricing goes, $40 is that like a medium?
Oregon Pinot Noirs that are anywhere from 88, 89, 90, 91 points scored on Wine Spectator will be probably $30 or higher. Yeah. President Clinton started it in 1994. That Domaine Durain Pinot Noir was served in the White House also. So that from then on, it just actually took off. King State Winery in Salem, they do a phenomenal job, and their wines are also extraordinary. So King State is one of the well-known ones. Archery Summit or Domaine Durain or Argyle in Dindy Hills also are some phenomenal producers of Pinot Noir. We have Pinot Noir. I poured it in 2 different glassware. So this is a true Pinot Noir glass, and then this is also on an AP glass. You can try it and see.
I've noticed a lot of different color variation in Pinot Noirs, from light to really dark. Does that affect the value of the body of the wine?
It absolutely does, yes. It depends where the winery is and what the yield is. What they do is they trim their vines quite a bit. There are a lot of wineries, they don't trim them that much, or they call them pruning it. So it depends how much grapes each cluster or each vine will provide. According to that, it will give you that color or it will give it that body to it. So
Is it better to have it the darker, deeper colors?
it is, but lots of them have lots and lots of flavor. So if you see this wine, it's very thin, but when you drink it, it will hold against any red meat also, because it has a very intense flavor, and it's layers and layers of fruit and oak and a little bit of vanilla. And it's supposed to be thin, and it's supposed to hit you on the tip of your tongue and disappear. It's not supposed to have any finish or any lingering tannins on your mouth. That's what a typical Pinot Noir is. It's more like a treat than like, you know, a full body looking at the legs and very thick wine. Very simple. Pinot Noir is a grape. Each wine is made after a grape. Chardonnay is a grape, Sauvignon Blanc is a grape, Pinot Gris is a grape, Cab is a grape, Chianti is a grape. So Pinot Noir, I call it a feminine wine. It's an introductory wine. It's very light, but it has a lot of flavor. So Pinot Noir is named after the Pinot Noir grape. That's what it means. So if you're talking to somebody who knows wine, if you say Pinot Noir, they know exactly what Pinot Noir means. It's a very thin, flavorful, easy to drink wine. The difference between is one is white and one is red. So typically if you squeeze a grape, white juice will come out of any grape. It's white or it's red. But then they color it from the skins of the grapes. That's where the tannins come from. That's where the color comes from also. It's the sweetest grape there is. The one you guys are tasting it's an ice wine, Gewürztraminer. They let the grapes freeze on the vine, and when they press them, they usually get like 1 drop per grape. So ice wines are very, very, very expensive. And the best ice wines come from Canada, because they have, you know, lots of these late harvests, longer summer, like Indian summer they call it, and they don't pick the grapes up until almost December. But there are a lot of producers, they cheat. So they pick grapes early, then they freeze them in the refrigerator or freezers, and then crush them. But the wine's a lot less expensive than having the vines freeze itself. You have a question? Canada. Canada produces the best ice wine there is. You could probably have a 375 milliliter bottle for as much as $120 to $200. That's how expensive they are. There is a drier style of Gewürztraminer with Alsace makes, which is in France. California also makes some Gewürztraminer, but typically when somebody does order a glass of Gewürztraminer, it's like somebody ordering a glass of Riesling. They expect it sweet. So that's when the server or the wine steward or somebody else comes on and say this is a drier style of Gewürztraminer, because they don't use the stainless steel, they use the French oak barrels, so that gives it that less flavor and takes sugar away. And then they pick them early and they add something else to it, 2% of either Viognier and Chardonnay. That makes it the drier style. The skins of the grapes is usually pink, but like I was saying earlier, each grape, when you squeeze it, you'll see a clear juice coming out of it, and then the skins of the grapes give it the color. Like Alsace makes very dry Gewürztraminer. It's actually drier than a Pinot Gris and drier than Chardonnay, but California, Washington, and Oregon, usually Gewürztraminer grape is very, very, very sweet. And they're very floral, You can pick up star fruit, pineapple, green cooked pears. Everybody picks different. Everybody's palate is different. You have a question? Oh, okay. Yes.
With the skin on a grape that had been previously frozen on the vine, would it be tougher or thicker?
It will be thicker, but they have a lot of sugar, residual sugar on the grapes is a lot, so they shrivel before they freeze. So when they press them, that's where the sugar level on the wine, on the late harvest comes from. Your dessert wine typically should be sweeter than your dessert. That's the best pairing, but a lot of people drink dessert wine, with pretty much anything. We have some customers, they come in, they say, we want to have a dessert and a glass of dessert wine because life is too short. They come in, they expect it on the table, a little, chocolate ganache or a chocolate cake with a little glass of port or a glass of dessert wine. You can, absolutely, yes. There is tawny port. You can make a dessert wine out of any grape, and you can also make port, which is a red wine, fortified wine. They add cognac to it. So there's a vintage port, there's non-vintage port. Non-vintage port is they make it like from 94, 95, 96. They have already wine fermented in the barrels, then they mix it all together. They call it non-vintage, so it will not tell you on the bottle it's 94, 95, or 96, based on what the weather was like and how good they want to make it.
What do you think other fruit, not grapes? What? Or is it just not a wine at all without a
It will not be a wine, it'll be something else. So typically dessert wine or ports are made with.
It's like apple wine, it's not really a wine.
It's not, no, exactly. So red wine, when they make red wine, port wine, they add cognac to it. So you can open up a bottle, leave it open for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. So it will not go bad because it's fortified wine and they have added cognac to it. Otherwise, if you keep a bottle of wine open just regular after 2 days, it will get oxidized and it will turn into vinegar and then you can't even drink it.
So when are you supposed to serve champagne or Prosecco?
Prosecco and champagne. I usually serve champagne with caviar, shrimp, ahi, like carpaccio, tartare, or you can just start with a glass of champagne. Any kind of salads. Every day is a celebration, so a glass of champagne, you can drink it, in the morning, in the afternoon, at night. Anytime is absolutely, yeah. We wake up in the morning, it's a celebration. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Do you guys do any beer pairings at Brokentop, being in a beer shop?
We do. Well, before I was at Brokentop, when I worked for a distributor, we did a lot of brewmasters dinner. Yeah. So they will start with their lighter style, like a Pilsner, they'll go with the IPA, they'll go with the Porter, and then they'll go with the, aged beers and so forth and so on, yeah. Between the chef and the winemaker and the sommelier, they usually sit down. So chef will make the menu first, then he'll give it to me, and then I'll approach the wine or brewmaster and see what will you think will go well with this menu. And once you look at the menu, and then they'll pair it. It's like a marriage that actually will last. So that's what they do. They pair it together. So yeah, yeah.
What is the best temperature to serve a port wine at?
Port wine, I would say 55 degrees. Yeah, between 52 and 55 is perfect. And then a dessert wine, which is this, I would say anywhere from 42 to 50, 48 degrees. Yeah. There are a lot of people, they like their wine chill. A lot of older clients, they like to put little ice cubes in it or a little, soda water or a spritzer or whatnot, but I don't recommend that. Those people are, that's what they like. It was like earlier, if we want to pair somebody's, porterhouse with a nice California cabs, but then his wife doesn't drink cabs, she doesn't drink red wine, she wants white Zinfandel, and she's going to pair it with that, and she's absolutely right. Customer is always right, no matter how much we do. It's the professional way of pairing it, but customer's always right, so I let them do it. That's the way. Yes. Any other questions?
I just want to thank you for being here and the presentation. Food is awesome.
Wonderful.
Great knowledge.
And it's all about having fun, making it fun. So, you know, we sometimes are so serious or we get intimidated with wine, with this, with that. It's a process. Every day you learn something new, no matter how long somebody has been in a business. So as long as you have fun doing it, that's what matters. Have a wonderful day.